Hello, good evening, good morning, good night. How are you guys doing today? Yeah. Just so excited that you are here. Glad that I'm here. I hope you had a great Monday and had an amazing weekend. As I always say, when we come on, this is a fun place for me to be and a fun group for me to be with. I'm always excited when I look forward to coming on and just hanging out with you. We are continuing, y'all, the war for your health. That's what we've been talking about over the last several months. And this topic of the war for our health has taken us down an amazing road, talking about processed food, talking about the environment and its effect on our lives, talking about just various things that can have a significant impact on chronic diseases. Remember, chronic diseases, that's what we're having issues with nowadays. Before, we used to have problems with diseases of infection, or trauma or injury. Now we are having diseases of the lifestyle. And those are those chronic illnesses that we have. And our lifestyle plays such a big part in how that impacts us. We have been talking also about diabetes. And diabetes is a huge problem in our United States, in the country, and around the world. 37 million people in the U.S. alone that have diabetes, and they're telling me 430 to 460 million people around the world who have diabetes. Now, if we back up a little bit and we talk about pre-diabetes here in the United States, 88 million people are in the pre-diabetic range. Those are people whose blood sugars are higher than normal, but not quite high enough to be considered diabetic. Yeah. So we're talking about over 100 million people in the United States alone that are diabetic or at risk for becoming diabetic. And tonight we're going to be talking about healthy living. We're talking about healthy living. How do we begin to address and attack this problem? Stay tuned. That's what we're having a discussion about tonight. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, take charge of your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. If you're new, also go ahead and put new in the comments because we would love to welcome you to our neighborhood. We'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and help welcome you with some music. So glad that you're here. If you have questions as we go through the night, go ahead and put those in the comments in the chat because we'd love to get to those as we discuss our topic for tonight. Y'all, it is the end of the year. We're in the month of December. We are well into the month of December, and we want to make sure that as we get to the new year, as we get to the end of this year, and move into the new year, that we are taking care of two very important things. That's our time and our health. Are we optimizing? Are we utilizing our time wisely? And are we managing our health? You've got to have both of those if you're going to be successful. If you're going to create the life that we've been talking about, you got to have them, right? You got to have time and you got to have health. So that's what we're doing as we get into the new year. Everybody's talking about this new year, new you, new year, new me, new year, new us. Let's set ourselves up to be successful as we move into the new year. All right, let's see who we got out there. Survivor Spirit. Survivor Spirit says, thank you so much for consistency and great content. Been catching the replays. Thank you for being here. Survivor says she's new, or he is new. Welcome. Let's see. We can give you some special music. All right. Thank you for being here, Survivor Spirit. And Shawana says, good evening, Dr. Wood. Hey, Shawana, glad that you are here, that you're hanging out with us. Always happy to see you. Shawana is one of our consistent commenters and engagers. So y'all, listen. Health is that thing, right? Health is that thing that if you have it, it's great. But if you don't have it, wow. I talk to people all the time. I talk to people all the time in the office. I talk to family members. I talk to patients, clients, customers, people who sometimes will stop me and talk about some issue that they're having in their health. And it's not usually, hey, I'm doing great and this thing is wonderful, or this, I was diagnosed with this illness, and everything is going great. It's usually, hey, I'm having a problem and this is the issue that's going on, right? That's usually the case. And this health issue that we continue to talk about, this health issue we continue to move around, and sometimes health is that elephant in the closet or elephant in the room, because it's not in the closet a lot of times, right? It's right there. If we're not careful, we sometimes overlook simple things that we can do to improve our health. And so we're talking tonight about healthy living, y'all. That's where we're heading. Healthy living. We talked last week about an important point, and that is the reasons we eat like we eat. Reasons we eat like we eat. We eat like we eat for, and I'm going to actually amend this, right? Because I want to throw another one sort of in there, right? We eat because of emotions. We eat because of emotions. And emotions can come in lots of different forms. We know about the anger. We know about the stress. We know about the depression, the anxiety, right? So those emotions make us eat. But as we pointed out last week, not only do we eat because of negative emotions, but we also eat because of positive emotions. What does that mean for us? I'm gonna tell on myself. You guys ready? Okay. So last night I was up later than I should have been up, and I was doing some things here in my space. I was doing some graphics. I was getting ready for the show. I was finishing up on a couple of things I needed to write and create, and I knew I had to go to bed. I knew it. I knew I should go to bed. Because I tell you guys all the time, right? Get good rest. Get plenty of rest. Get adequate rest. And I knew I should have been going to bed, but I didn't go to bed because I wanted to do that one last thing. You know how it is? You want to do that one last thing? Oh, I can do it. I can do it. And then I'll hop into bed. But the fatigue got to me, y'all. And I said, wait a minute. I just need a little bit more time. And so I got up and I walked into the kitchen. And I opened the refrigerator, and you know how it is. You put your head in there, and I didn't see anything that I wanted in there. So I closed it, went over to the pantry, and opened one of the drawers. And to my surprise, there was a bag of Lay's potato chip. One of those, not the big bag, little bag. And my brain says to me, yeah, that'll keep you up. Yeah. And guess what? Chomp, 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 chomp. I ate it. Now, I want you to notice something. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't angry. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't any of those emotions. I was just tired. Tired, y'all. And to keep me up, boom, 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 there we go. Get the bag of chips, come back in. And I mean, it kept me up for a little while. But eventually I said, I need to go to sleep. So there are those emotions, but there are also those emotions that come about because of just joy and just having a pleasant day, having you came home tonight and kiss my wife and say hey to my son and just, talking with them. And sometimes if we're not able to handle those emotions, then we also will begin eating, right? So emotions, one of the reasons why we eat. We also eat because of taste. And we said what? We said that bliss point. Remember the bliss point? That's that point where there's just enough sugar, just enough salt, and just enough what? Fat to make us say, that tastes good. I can't just have one of those. Yeah, I'm going to just chomp it down. So we eat because of taste. And we eat because of habit. You get up and something in your brain says, hey, it's lunchtime, or it's breakfast time, or this is what we eat. This is what we do on Sundays. This is what we do when we get together. This is what we do on Thanksgiving. This is what we do, right? So all those things we eat because of habit. And so as we talk about the model, I wanted to make sure that I address the food part. And we're coming here in a minute. We're going to talk about some other things. But I wanted to set the stage for that. Because if we're not careful, sometimes we ignore the things that are there that make us. And my wife says I shouldn't use the word make, because nothing makes us do it, but it encourages us. It supports us doing it. It gives us the feeling that we should do it, right? So it does that, right? Ultimately, though, we are the ones that are in charge. Yeah, we're the ones that are in charge. All right. So let's hop back over. So this is reasons we eat. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the model, and we addressed the model a little bit last week, and we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about this model. And let me kind of set the stage for us. As we discuss diabetes, and we're talking specifically type 2 diabetes, as I've mentioned before, there is currently no way for us to treat type 1 diabetes other than insulin. People with type 1 diabetes are insulin dependent. Their pancreas does not make insulin. Essentially it doesn't make insulin, right? If you go and you check it, sometimes there is some insulin there, but not enough for survival. So they need insulin. And insulin, type 1 diabetes, when people got a diagnosis of type 1 diabetes years ago, prior to the development of insulin, that was really a death sentence, right? But we've come a long way, and we've been able to address, and people with type 1 diabetes live healthy, long, productive lives now because of the development of insulin, right? So let's make that point right now. But as we talk about the model, let's talk a little bit about how the body works again. So your body, the function of your body is to stay alive. Everything that happens in your body is with the intention of keeping you alive. Now, I often say that we get upset at the diseases that develop in our body. But if those diseases are there, it's because the body is functioning in a way that it believes it's protecting us. Let me give you an example. Within diabetes, we talk about the neuropathy that happens, or the problems that happen in the eyes and the kidneys, and in fact, all over the body. Those things happen because there's excess sugar in the body. Those tissues are seeing the excess sugar, and they are responding to the excess sugar in a way to try to fix the system to become homeostatic. Homeostasis means same, so get back to normal. So that the reason that we produce excess insulin in the case of type 2 diabetes is because the body is trying to maintain adequate blood sugar control. Your blood sugars are getting higher, and the body is working to try to keep those blood sugars under control. And when it does that, it produces more insulin, and then more insulin, and then more insulin, and we get this situation that we term insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is a response in the body to try to maintain homeostasis to keep the body alive. Let me pause there for a minute because I want you guys to get that. When someone develops pneumonia develops in a lot of cases because some foreign pathogen, a virus, a bacteria, got into the system and got into, for instance, the lung, and the body is sending cells, white cells, to the lung to try to block off, to try to destroy, to try to eat, to try to contain that invader. And because it does that, the pneumonia develops. So the pneumonia doesn't just develop. It develops because the body is in the process of trying to save us. So I want you to get that. Diseases. A lot of diseases occur because the body is in the process of trying to keep the body alive. So insulin. Let's talk about diabetes. So the insulin resistance that we develop is what happens, right? So the body is seeing that the blood sugars are probably trying to rise, and it says, hey, I don't want that. So I want to make sure that I keep the blood sugars under control. And so insulin goes up and it goes up and it goes up and it goes up. And when it can no longer keep the blood sugars under control, in other words, we're not making enough insulin, or the insulin continues to be ineffective, then the blood sugars rise. And so despite all the efforts of the body, we still have high blood sugars, and that is when diabetes is seen, or when diabetes shows up. Okay? Prior to that, as the blood sugars are rising and rising and rising and rising, then that's a condition that we call pre-diabetes. Okay, pre-diabetes. So here's a question. Here's a question for us all. As we're talking about insulin, right? Is it possible to make the body make enough insulin again so that someone is no longer diabetic? I'll pause there. Pause. Pause for effect. Well, there are lots of different theories. There are lots of different conversations that probably are going on right now somewhere with people talking about whether that's possible. And we've had conversations here on this in this space about that. Okay, insulin reverse or diabetes reversal, or reversing diabetes, is a complicated discussion, and it's a discussion that requires that we understand what that process means. Because let's say we were able to reverse diabetes. Okay, if we do the same things that caused us to get there in the first place, then guess what? The diabetes is back. So I want to make sure that we couple that with the concept of reversing. That if we continue, if we reverse it and we do the things that we did before to get there, then the diabetes is back. Okay? All right. So let's talk about some things that we know. Things that we know. If you take a pancreatic cell, and that's the cell in the body that makes insulin, right? The beta cells in the pancreas, they make insulin. So if we take that cell and we drop it in a cup, and that cup is saturated with sugar water, right? You take some glucose, and you mix it in the cup, and you drop that cell in. And then you take that cell out, and you stick a needle in it, and you try to pull some insulin out. Then in a lot of cases, and they've done this in the lab, you cannot get insulin, or not very much insulin, out of that cell. All right? So no insulin if the cell is washed in sugar water. You take that same cell, you wash it off, right? And now you drop it in just regular saline. So no sugar water, no sugars in there, just regular water. And then you take that cell out and you stick a needle in it and you try to pull insulin out of it. All of a sudden, there's insulin. So what happened? Okay. Now, let me add a little component to that. So it's not like, you take it right out and you wash it. It's like you take it out and you put it in a dish and you got to let it sit for a while. Okay. So I made it sound like it was like right after. No. So you got to let it sit for a while. And now if you try to get insulin out of it, then the cell is producing insulin again. Wow. So that means then that high blood sugar poisons the cells that make insulin. So it causes them to make less insulin. So if we were able to somehow decrease the sugar, the toxicity that we get from the sugar itself improves and goes away. And all of a sudden that cell is now making, that cell is now making insulin. Okay? So I want you to hold on to that for a minute. So taking a cell, a pancreatic cell, a beta cell, which was exhausted, right? And that's the word that we use, beta cell exhaustion. That is, the cell is working and working and working and is so tired now that it can't make any more cells, any more insulin. If we take one of those exhausted beta cells and we somehow are able to decrease the toxicity of the high sugar, then the cell is possibly able to make more insulin. Okay, so I want to hold on to that. Another kind of thought, another experiment that they did, where we took people, and they did this in the lab as well with mice and so forth. But if we have a situation, if we take two groups and they are both groups, right, are normal, they're not diabetic, and we somehow make them have elevated cholesterol, right? So we increase the lipids, and let me use the right word, lipids. I use cholesterol because that's what everybody understands. Well, we increase the lipids, another word for cholesterol, right? We increase the lipids in their body. Then those people, or that group that has the elevated lipids, all of a sudden they begin to become insulin resistant. Notice what happened. So both groups are normal, and one, we somehow increase the amount of fat, lipids, cholesterol in their body. Then they begin to develop insulin resistance. The other group, which has relatively normal lipids, they don't develop insulin resistance. And if we take that group that developed insulin resistance and is heading to diabetes, and we decrease the lipids in their body, all of a sudden their body begins responding to insulin appropriately again. So the combination of high blood sugar and elevated lipids is toxic to the body, to the point where the body either develops insulin resistance or progresses to diabetes. Ooh, did you hear what I just said? Now, if you're deciding, hey, how are we going to treat these people, right? We got these people who are insulin resistant, these people who are diabetic, right? We just talked about two mechanisms that makes it worse or makes people progress to diabetes. What are two things you think you could do? Well, one, we could lower the blood sugar somehow so it's not as toxic. And we can lower the cholesterol or the lipids so the lipids don't make the body as insulin resistant. Now notice both of these things that we're talking about have to do with insulin. Okay? So the first thing I want us to do is make sure that we understand the role of insulin and what are some things that we can do to decrease insulin. Now, it turns out, right, it turns out that the things that we do to decrease insulin are exactly the other two things, well, not exactly, but primarily the other two things that we have in our model. So how do we decrease the toxicity of elevated blood sugars? Well, we decrease the blood sugars in the body. Okay, I'm going to pause because I'm sure somebody out there right now, right? So if you're watching, if you're listening, go ahead and drop in the comments. What do you think one of the things I'm going to say for decreasing the sugar in the body, right? Because now we're going to talk about carbohydrates. So we talked about insulin. We talked about how insulin, how the body decreases insulin, or how the insulin doesn't work effectively, right? So what are something that you think I'm going to say to help decrease the amount of sugar in the body? Okay, I'll go ahead and put that in. All right, let's see. Survivor Spirit is laughing. I think you're talking about my little story about the chips, right? And she said, that's me all the time. I know. She said, it's true about the serotonin rush with the crunch in the snacks. Oh, man. And as I'm waiting for you guys to do that. So the whole idea, right, of taste, the whole idea of taste is, and I'm glad you said that, Survivor Spirit. So it's not just the sweet, salt, fat. It also is the feel, right? The crunchiness, the softness, the grittiness, I think I told last week about my thing, right? When I'm drinking soda, that burn that you get in the back of your throat, that's it right there, y'all. So you can give me whatever you want, right? If I'm drinking soda, if I don't get that burn, that soda keeps going, right? It keeps going until then I was like, yes, right there. I was in my kitchen one night, and a friend of mine was visiting, and I went to the refrigerator to get something to drink. And actually, this was juice. It wasn't even the soda, right? So the juice is a whole nother concept. But I was drinking, right? And I was drinking this thing, and I am drinking it, and y'all, I must have been lost my mind, because when I was done, he said to me, I have never seen anybody drink juice like that, and I've never heard anybody talk about juice like that. It was like I was in love, right, with this juice. It was the most amazing taste that I had, right? So it was like that, y'all. Okay. So she said it's true about the serotonin rush. So Jeff says statins, whole food, few carbs, exercise. Okay, so fewer carbs. So Jeff, you were right? So as we talk about how do we work with this insulin, right? We want to decrease the number of carbs. Now, there's a lot of stuff that you will hear. There's a lot that you will hear about people talking. Hold on a second here, guys. People talking about different things that we can do to deal with insulin resistance, to deal with hyperglycemia, to deal with the sugar that's in our body. And we'll talk about some of those. But the one of the most important things is to watch the carbohydrates. So let's delve into some carbohydrates. So here's a definition of carbohydrates for everybody. Anything that grows out of the ground. I'm stopping right there. I hear you. I see the wheels spinning, because somebody's saying, wait a minute. Are you telling me that lettuce has carbs in it? I said, yes, it does. How about tomatoes? Yes, it does. How about cucumbers? Yes, they do. Broccoli, celery, Brussels sprouts, collard greens, mustard greens, turnip greens, black eyed peas, navy beans, black beans, red beans, kidney beans, lima beans. Yes, they do. They have carbohydrates. And the process of converting those carbohydrates into energy produces glucose, which is sugar. So it will raise your blood sugar. Now, let me hasten to say right here, and Jeff, you put that in the comments, I think there a few minutes ago. Whole foods. So we want to try to eat foods as close to their normal as possible. Whole foods, y'all. Not processed, because processed foods give us those excess calories, those excess carbohydrates, those excess sugars that are not good for the body, not good for the system. So that's why salads are better than a chocolate bar. Because the salad, and depending on how you make the salad, by the way, let me say that, right? Because I've seen some of your salads. As a matter of fact, I've seen some of my salads. When I was in medical school, a friend of mine, because I was putting on weight in medical school, and so she said to me, she said, I see the salads that you make, and so she was giving me some suggestions. So I made one of those, what is it called? 7-layer salads. Have you ever made one of those? 7-layer salads? Yeah. So if you make a 7-layer salad, you can have a salad that's pretty intense. Okay. So salad, that's why salad better than a candy bar. Because number one, it has other components in the vegetables, in the things that you're putting in there. Because sometimes you put fruits in there as well, right? So the fiber that's in the vegetable, the fiber that's in the fruit, helps to blunt the effect of the carbohydrates that are in the food. But when you have processed foods, the processing strips, destroys, and decreases the fiber that's in the thing that you're eating. It does. That's one of the reasons, right? And I'm going to say this, but it's not that I'm pushing this, but that's one of the reasons that people talk about eating uncooked foods, right? Raw vegetables, right? Fresh, leafy green vegetables. Because you get the full effect of not only the carbohydrates, which you need for energy, but you get the full effect of the fiber that's there. So when people are talking about foods, a lot of times I'll get a question about the fiber or the carbs, and should I get this one that has more fiber in it? The first question I ask is it processed? And if it's processed, let's put that on the back burner. Let's start eating something that's less processed. Right? So the things that you put in your salad. And I recommend, unless you have a reason for not eating a salad, okay, whether you have some medical condition, you've talked to your GI doctor and they say, hey, you shouldn't eat whatever, right? So unless that's the case, everybody who's listening to me right now should be having 1 to 2 salads a day. Unless you have a contraindication, right? You build it into your day. Now, one of the things that I've started doing is I go down to the cafeteria at the hospital, and I used to get a wrap, right? Because everybody says, oh yeah, the wrap is less carbs and it's healthier for you. Well, guess what? Do you know, somebody out there, if you're out there right now, look up for me a wrap. I don't know what brand or whatever, right? Somebody look up a wrap for me and tell me how many carbohydrates are in a wrap. Not the whole wrap, but just the it's not a tortilla. The skin for the wrap. I'm blanking on the word right now. Somebody look that up and put it in the comments. Okay? So when I go down now, I tell them I want a wrap without the wrap. So what they do is they get the chicken and they chop it up and they do all the vegetables, right? And they put, I make mine specially because I put a couple pieces of cheese in there, and I put jalapenos and lettuce and cucumbers and tomatoes and I put mushrooms in mine, and I'm looking at the tray as she's going across. So lettuce, cucumber, pickles, jalapenos, mushroom. I put some spinach in there as well, and a couple of slices of cheese. Okay, and so I have that, and so the very act of doing that decreases the amount of carbs that goes into that meal. Okay. All right. Okay. Right. Now, that allows us, right, to get food in that does not significantly increase the carbohydrates in our body, but it also allows us to get food in that fills us if we do it right. Now, if you put croutons and craisins and, drown it in salad dressing, right? There's one I'm thinking about right now. I won't even call the name, right? Right. So if you drown it in salad dressing, then that salad now becomes highly carb rich. But I'm talking about a simple salad, with some of the things I just mentioned. Oh, and tomatoes. Did I say tomatoes in mine? The one I made. So you can do that as well, and so that allows you to do it. Okay. I've been using. Okay, so let me drop down here for a minute. So Jay Jackson says that the spinach wrap I've been using has 30 grams of carbs. So 30 grams of carbs. So let's see. So we tell an average diabetic. Thank you, Jay Jackson, for that, by the way. We tell the average diabetic that they should have 45 grams of carbs per meal. 45 grams of carbs per meal. So that, Jay Jackson, if we take your wrap, right, or the spinach wrap, and I'm assuming that you're talking about just the skin that has 30 grams of carbs. Correct me if I'm wrong. So the skin has 30 grams of carbs. And let's see, lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, whatever else somebody put, as at least 15 grams of carbs. So that's 45. And depending on what else you put in there, now we've gone over 45 grams of carbs. Okay, so Jay Jackson said yes. So that's just the skin. Right. So now we're talking 45 grams of carbs. And if you're not careful, now we've gone beyond that. Okay. So one of the ways that I have decided to decrease the number of carbs in my diet is by getting rid of the skin itself. So that now takes 30 grams of carbs out of my diet. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So 30 grams of carbs out of my diet. The other thing that I do is I intermittent fast. So that further decreases the amount of carbs, because when I do eat my meals, I make sure I eat the calories that I need, but I've cut back on carbs as well. I think, let's see, do I have a picture of? And you guys have seen, if you watch my shorts, you have seen this image before. Let's see where it is. Okay, you've seen this image before. Let's pop that up there. Okay, so this is my weight journal. Okay. And so that's for months, all right? So that's November, October, right? But and that one down there, way down there, that was an error, right? But I want you to see this guy right here. So this is now my weight journal over the last, 3-4 years, maybe. right? And notice that if I look at that on the monthly basis, it doesn't look like there's a big change, right? But if I look over the years, you see there's a continual downward trend in the weight. Okay. All right. So that is an important point to be made. That the carbohydrates, as we cut back on carbohydrates, not only does it help control blood sugar, but it also helps control weight. So that's a great segue to talk about the lipids. Because a very important component of increased weight is that cholesterol levels in the body are higher. I had a lady come to the office, was it last week or a couple of weeks ago? And we were talking about how much weight she had lost. And she said, I've only lost 8 pounds. Let me see. Where's my model? She said, I've only lost 8 pounds. And so I was talking to her about what 8 pounds looks like. Now, this right here, and hopefully you guys can see that, this is 5 pounds. And for comparison, look, so here's my phone. Let me put my phone up to it. This is what my phone looks like next to it. Okay. Now, what's important about that is that sometimes we'll lose weight, and the weight that we lose is internal. So when you lose weight, the weight that you lose first is weight that is around your heart, fat that's around your heart, the fat that's around your liver and your kidneys and your internal organs. So sometimes when you get on the scale is lighter, but you look at yourself and you're like, wait a minute, it doesn't look like I've lost. That's because you're losing weight on the inside, right? So as we lose weight, then the cholesterol levels, those lipids that I talked about that made the body insulin resistant, those lipids go down. And so we become less insulin resistant, and the insulin that our body makes is able to manage our blood sugars. Wait a minute now. What just happened? So we've decreased the carbs. When we decrease the carbohydrates, the sugar in our body goes down. We said that will improve the insulin production, right? Because remember, high blood sugars are toxic to the beta cells. So the body's making more insulin in its normal form. So our blood sugars are better controlled, and better controlled blood sugars now lead to better insulin production, and better insulin production leads to better blood sugars. See how that now all of a sudden that's happening? And then on top of that, we are now losing weight, and as we lose weight, the lipids in our body goes down, and that itself causes the body to be less insulin resistant. You got that so far? All right. So now we're already on our way. We're already on our way, and we're gonna add a big aha here in a minute. We're already on our way to better blood sugar control. Now, add on top of that. So not only have we decreased the insulin, the sugar, so we get better insulin resistance or less insulin resistance. We've decreased the lipids in our body, so better insulin resistance. Now, if we add on that this third component, and the third component is the exercise, we begin to burn more. We begin to use up more sugar. As we use up more sugar, the body doesn't store it. And what does it normally store it at? It stores it as fat. So as we use up more sugar, more glucose, the body has to now go to our fat stores to get energy when we need it. And so now our weight goes down. It's burning more lipids, more cholesterol, and we get less insulin resistance. Okay. Now, here's the beautiful part of this. I describe this to people as a way to decrease, minimize, or to be able to eliminate the medications that you're on for your diabetes. Whoa, come on now. Did you hear what I just said? This is the model. This is the model for being able to decrease how much diabetes medications you take, to be able to sometimes get off of some diabetes medications you're on. Some, and in a lot of cases, be able to get off of all diabetes medications that you're on. Now, I went to my doctor last November-ish, not this past November, but a year ago, November. Okay. And y'all, I walked in and he chewed me out one side, up one side, down the other side. He's like, Dwayne, what are you doing? And he said that because I was not as healthy as I said I was, or as I thought I was. Right? So my weight was up and down, right? Because the insulin that I took caused fluctuations. You know, it took more insulin. I was more hungry. I ate more. The blood sugars went up. I took more insulin. So there's this cycle. And my A1C started to rise. And he says, "What are you doing?" He said, actually, he said, "What the hell are you doing?" So I left, right? And I started taking insulin. I started taking some insulin. Because after all, that was the immediate way of doing it. And when I started taking the insulin, a week later, y'all, maybe 10 days later, I had put on about 12 pounds. I want you to hear me. I had put on about 12 pounds over a week of taking. Now, my blood sugars were better, but I put on weight. And I struggled with that. Just like you struggle when your doctor puts you on some medication, insulin for particular, and you begin putting on weight. And I said, I can't do this. Because the weight's going up, blood sugars are getting better, but yeah. So I fluctuate. I was like, yeah, I'm not taking that. Oh, okay, I'm taking that. Oh, yeah, I'm not taking that. And I decided, okay, this has to stop. This has to stop. And so I got on a plan. Right. So I've been doing all this self-improvement, right? If you watch my shows, right? And let me pause here to say something to you guys as you're watching. Often we think that we're the only ones that are in a particular situation, or that there is something that is going on that other people don't understand. And I get that. I know often that that's the case. But I want you to understand that as I'm talking to you about stuff that goes on in my life every day. When I come on here and I'm teaching you guys stuff, this is stuff I struggle with. This is stuff that's in my head. This is stuff that I wish I had the perfect answer for you. Now, I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen people over in the process, and I share with them my story. And sometimes we sit and I was talking to a guy just last week, and we sat for about an hour and a half, and we just laughed. We were telling stories back and forth, right? Because when we first started, it was a very almost kind of a formal thing, right? Because he was telling me a story, and he didn't think that his story had any application to me. So he's telling his story, and I'm sitting there, and it's very kind of. But when I started talking about the stuff that was going on with me, he's like, "Really? You get that too? Oh yeah, right." So we're going back and forth. So decided, hey, I'm not doing this, and so began looking at the things I was eating. Began doing the intermittent fasting, and I was doing pretty close to intermittent fasting anyway. Most of you out there, you're almost intermittent fasting because you eat maybe 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and a lot of us don't eat breakfast. So if you don't eat breakfast, you ate 6 to 7 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock in the morning, that's already 12 hours. And now, if you don't eat until lunchtime, you're intermittent fasting. Now, I recommend usually 16-8 in terms of intermittent fasting. We're not talking about intermittent fasting here in this context, but just as a way of what I'm doing, right? So intermittent fasting. And then recently, right, got kicked in the butt. Well, not kicked in the butt, but got encouraged. And so I get up now and I walk. I do about 3 miles. I try to do 3 miles a day. Today I didn't go walking, but let me see. Where's my little thing? Let's see. Here it is. So I went away with some friends last week, and we were at the hotel, and I said, no, I'm getting up and I'm going to walk. Let's see. Where's my day? This last week. Here we go. So this is this was last week. Okay, so let's say I walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I try to do about 3 miles roughly per day. So I am in the process of understanding more about insulin in my body. How do I decrease the amount of insulin resistance? By decreasing the carbohydrates, by losing weight, by intermittent fasting, and by exercise. And I am currently exercising by walking. When I get up in the morning, my blood sugar's, 120, 130, whatever the number is. When I come back, it's dropped 20 points. And 20 points may not sound like a lot. But remember, every amount of lower blood sugar means that that's less medication I potentially can take. And that's one less piece of toxicity on my cells, which allows them to do a better job of controlling blood sugars. Okay? So what does that mean practically speaking? Let me see if I can pull up. Let's see which is the best one to do for you guys. All right, so let me do this. I'm going to, let's do this. I'm going to start. Okay, so this is my average blood sugar today. That's the 3-day average. That's a 7-day average. And right now, I'm showing you this on the Dexcom. So shout out to Dexcom. That's a 14-day average. And then on this one, let's see, that's a 30-day. Let's see what that looks like. 30-day average. And that's a 90-day average. I don't know if there we go. Okay. And notice what I want you to notice is the green part down below, right? And so we're talking about A1Cs now, right? And that's been the standard that we've been using. But I also want you to kind of remember this new phrase that everybody's talking about, time in range. Because while the A1C is important, and that gives us this 90-day, also we want to know how much time are you spending in the range that we want you to be. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? So fair use. Let me come back over here for a minute, and just so the freestyle people don't get on me, let me go ahead and show you what that looks like in freestyle world. Let's see. Let me do it a little different. Time and range. Okay, here we go. This will work. All right, so this is 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. And in this system, I don't have a 90-day because I think there's only like 36 days on this one. All right, let's see, average glucose. All right, so that's 90 days, 30 days, 135 to actually 136. That's 14 days, and that's 7 days. Okay, and let's see how that corresponds to. Let's see how that corresponds to weight, because we said weight also is one of those, right? So let's see. So I want you to watch. Let's see, can I get this down here? All day. See that day right there? I mean, I was that 210 was exciting to me. So you see that 214 to 211 down to 210. I was away, y'all. I was away on a trip with some of my friends, and I actually lost weight. And then I came home, right? And I've been staying up late. And what am I doing when I'm staying up late? And look at that trajectory, right? 210, 212, 215. So when I tell y'all the struggle is real, it's real, y'all. It's real. So, how do we improve our diabetes? How do we master our diabetes? That's it right there. We understand how insulin works. We work on our carbohydrates. We exercise. Now, there's a lot more detail that we will, in the future, unpack in these spaces. But I wanted to make sure as we get ready to get into this new year, right? New year, new you. New year, new you. We got to set ourselves up for success. And so how do we manage diabetes? By healthy living. That's the point, healthy living. And that's what that very first slide, let me get back there, right? So you can see that, healthy living. If we can do that, we minimize the amount of medication we take, and we improve our diabetes. And that, after all, is what we want to do. Because as I say, right, we educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, right? Avoid complications. Let me get the mic out of the way. That's what we do. We educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, go to the next level, and create the life you want. And a very first part of that is being able to master our diabetes. So healthy living for mastering your diabetes. I think I'm going to change the title that shows up there on the YouTube. All right. So let's see. What do we got? So Jeff says, Doc, get a treadmill in your office and a standing desk. Yes, Jeff. I thank you. Now this desk that I have right here, I made it. So I'm going to be hopefully adding the legs. Right now they're stationary legs, and so I need to get the mechanics to be able to do it. I made this probably about 2 years ago now, but it's a pretty nice desk. All right. So if you are out there, y'all, if you're out there, if you've gotten benefit from this show or benefit from the channel, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and send this link to your family, to your friends, anybody who's out there who has diabetes, somebody who's struggling with prediabetes, somebody who's struggling with weight, somebody who has risk factors for diabetes. Let them know that this show, right, sets the tone for what they can do, what they need to do for their health. Let them know that they can come here and they can get good information. Also, if you are out there, go ahead and get over to, if it comes up, it should come up here in just a minute. Let's see. There we go. Get over to our YouTube channel, and you will see the shows that we've been doing. You will see all of the different. Let me go over here. There we go. All right. See all the different series that we've done. How to live a healthier lifestyle through holistic nutrition, a model for reversing diabetes. Is insulin the cause of our health problems? Right, the war for your health. Remember, that's the series that we're continuing to work on right now. We did shows on the vegetarian diet. We did shows on the vegan diet, all about diets, and lifestyle is medicine, right? That goes right in line with what we're doing right now. And then, of course, we did the Mastering Diabetes series that has probably about 29 videos in there now that you can get out and look. We did a series on the laws of healthy living. Right, so that's an important one. We've got 2 more shows that we've got to do to complete that series. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 2 or 3 more shows to complete that series. We'll come back and we will do those, and they will be listed there on the YouTube channel. So make sure you get out there and make sure you start looking at that. Also, if you have not already been to our website, that's Dwayne Wood MD. Dwayne Wood MD, and let me pull that up here really quickly so you can take a look at it. If you've not done that, please get over to the YouTube channel, and you will be able to see a lot of the different offerings that we have. If I can get it up for you. There we go. Put that over here. Other different offerings that we have for you so that you are... that one. Hopefully you guys weren't hearing something play in the background for the whole show and nobody said anything, right? Okay. Yes, there we are. So get over to our website, DwayneWoodMD.com, and you will see, you can get over to our blog, which right now we have things that are associated with the shows that we do. That will be there. Mastering Diabetes, how your lifestyle can set you free. Navigating Diabetes Medicine, insights to help you succeed. Navigating the final quarter, your blueprint for year-end success. Healthier alternatives to processed foods, right? How understanding the role of food in our bodies helps manage chronic diseases. Intermittent fasting, so on and so forth. It's all out there. And then, of course, if you go to our podcast, you can see edited or listen to edited versions of the cast that we do. And then finally, I would like to encourage you, if you are in a space where you need help, where you want to know about how sugar affects your body, we have our online course, Unmasking the Sweet Truth About Sugar, that's out there. It's a self-paced course. You can do that on your own. And if you would like to work with me on a more personal level, you can do that by getting over to our website and signing up for our next level coaching program. Y'all, I'm so excited that you are here. I want to do quickly before we go our thought for today. So I'm going to hop over and do that right now. Here is our thought for today. All right. So our thought for today is this. You've heard me say again and again, but I'll say it one more time. Time and health. two sides of the same coin. They are the things, they are the vehicles for success in our lives: time and health. The time that we spend, are we spending it efficiently? And are we taking care of our health? If you are lacking in one of those, then the other is in jeopardy. If you're not managing your time, then your health is in jeopardy. And if you are working on health but not doing a good job with time, then the entire thing is in jeopardy. You want to make sure that you are living life from a balanced viewpoint, that you are engaging in all domains of your life: your relationships, your health, your profession, your family, your friends, your community, your personal growth, and self-care. All of those are part of the wheel, if you will, that takes us into success. So I encourage you, as we get into the final weeks of this year, and as we move into the new year, new year, new you, new year, new me, new year, new us. Manage your time efficiently and take care of your health. And that is our thought for today. All right. As always, y'all, thank you for being here. We will be back next week, same time, same place. And that next week is actually going to be our final live show for the year, right? Final live show for the year. We'll probably have a few other things that go on the channel as we get to the end of the year. You'll hear more about that, so stay tuned. But we'll talk more about that next week. We've got some exciting things coming up for the new year, so you want to make sure that you're subscribed, that you get your family, your friends here, so that they can be a part of it as well. New year, new me. New year, new channel. Okay, so we've got a lot of things that we want to roll out, and I want you to be a part of that. I have been so excited to meet you all in the social space. I've been so excited to get your stories, to get your comments, to come on and to have a wonderful experience growing this community, growing this channel. I've learned so much over the this past year. As you've grown, as you've been educated, I have grown, I've been educated. We are being empowered by getting tools, and the community provides the encouragement that we need to be successful. We're doing our War for Your Health series. That's where we are. We'll do our show next week. If you've not joined us yet for our Q4 winning moves, we'll be doing that later this evening. That's going to be the last Monday night that we do. And this week we'll only have on Tuesday and Wednesday, because Thursday we're not going to do anything. And I'll give you the rest of the schedule as we get throughout this week. Please find us on social media. You will see us there. Let's see. There we go. On all of our social media platforms, that is LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, of course, here on YouTube. And we even have a Twitch account out there that you can get on if you are a gamer, and you'll find us over there. We don't play games, but we do some of our Q4 winning moves. Thank you for being here. As always, this is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, take charge of your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We want to create the life we've always wanted. We'll see you at the next show. Good night, everyone.